So can you tell me how is communication changing between people these days, would you say?
Well,
Because of social media and things.
due to the progress, technical progress, I mean, it has been changed, but you know, the way it's changing is not the good way, I guess, because the communication has become shorter, and we use lots of devices and regular communication has become well, I'm not sure how to say it in English, to be honest, but the quality of communication has decreased.
Right.
It
Right. It
it
has.
makes
The
that.
frequency and the type of communication is decreasing. Yeah, I agree. Um, for you personally, though, is it common for you to stop a stranger in the street and just start talking with them?
Do you mean talking
Well, I mean,
and the
if
topic is random, or to
yeah,
ask
let's say
something?
for example, you're like at a bus stop and you're waiting for a bus and you're new to a city. Would you strike up a conversation with someone?
I guess I wouldn't. I wouldn't. No.
Yeah, it's
It really
changed.
seems strange nowadays.
Right.
Really. You have Google. Ask Google.
Yeah, no, you're right. You can ask anyone for anything you need now, and it's kind of unfortunate, right? Like I remember 20 years ago in Russia, for instance, I could ask anybody anytime, and it was really having that kind of open communication with people was really comfortable and very just it was a good feeling, right? Especially if you're new to a place,
Sure, it was absolutely.
right? How would you say the tone of a voice impacts communication?
Well, first of all, I guess it absolutely does. It does impact communication. Well, the more friendly your tone, the better communication, right?
Right, right,
So, if you'd like to make friends with someone, or if you'd like just to start a random communication, please be polite and be nice and um, remember that your tone should be friendly, really friendly, just it's
right.
important.
Right, because communication can be positive or negative, right? And depending on the situation, you
It
might
does.
you might be angry, and so your tone would change. And there are visual cues too to for someone to interpret those cues and to understand
Mhm.
the setting better, right? So do you use any kind of gestures when you communicate with someone?
Gestures. Huh.
For instance, with in Italy, right? I lived in Italy a long time, and they're they're very animated, right? They use hands a lot, and for instance, this means this means delicious, this means I'm hungry, this can mean a thousand things, so are there any kinds of hand gestures or things that you know of people use?
You know, well, let me think. Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm an animated person, to be honest. I'm not.
You
Well, a
use-
little bit, but not very.
right,
I'm using it right now. See?
it's pretty funny, right? Yeah, we use it and we don't think about it.
No, I absolutely don't. But I'm really using it. But okay, well, that feels strange. I'm animated, but not very.
Right, you have
But
to
maybe,
almost
you
subconsciously
know,
or consciously
hmm?
think about not using your hands when you talk, right?
Yes. Oh, that's interesting.
Right. um How have smartphones and the internet changed? You touched on this a little bit before, but how has technology, how have smartphones and the internet changed the way people communicate? You said, we our communication is shorter.
Yes.
In what ways do we communicate? So, I mean, it's positive and negative, right? Like, I live abroad, so I don't see my family very often, but it's
Mm.
really useful in some ways, to email people, to chat with people. Can you think of other positive things that have come from that?
Well, the most positive thing is that it's extremely quickly,
Hmm.
so you can call someone in 1 second, just if even if this someone is, I don't know, hundreds and thousands kilometers away,
Right.
right? So I so I live in Russia and I can call my sister or my niece or my mom any minute,
Right.
right? So that's the most positive thing, I guess. But we see each other mm, rarely,
Mm.
and
Right.
that's really sad.
Right. But I mean, even this, the video chat, video call is really incredible. I remember when I
Mm.
lived in Yekaterinburg, right? I'm old, right? But I remember when I lived there, I had to
Mm.
buy those phone cards and you had to scratch the number off and then you dial the number. Do you remember those?
Yes, I do.
And the connection was terrible. And now, like you said, it's instantaneous and you can see someone and it's just the norm.
Yes, it is really. But while Zoom call, you can smell,
Right.
you can hug, right?
Right.
You can near a person. Well, there is a difference, but still, it's amazing.
Yeah, you're right. There's again pros and cons, right? Yeah, some of the negatives, yeah, you're right. The other senses are dull, right? You can't touch, you can't smell, you can hear and see, but that's pretty much it.
Yes,
And
exactly.
you can feel a little bit, right?
A little bit, yes.
Do you prefer, so when you talk to your mom or your sister from Russia, do you generally communicate more through calling or texting?
Through audio, no, through audio messages.
Okay. Ah,
Yeah.
right. You can send an audio message. Right, right, right.
That's
Why
that's
do you,
the
why
most,
do you prefer that?
I guess it's just quicker.
Hmm.
That's it. That's the only reason. It's just quicker.
Yeah, right. It is easier than using your thumbs for everything too.
Yeah, I can send an audio message while I go from A to B,
Right.
right? So it doesn't it doesn't necessary to look at the screen, and it's safer, by the way. I'm working, I'm crossing the street, and
Good point.
um, yeah, I can record. I can
Right.
record a message.
Yeah, that's a good point because you often do see people texting and walking and bumping into things and getting, in small accidents, oftentimes.
Yes.
Right. Let me ask you, let's see. I have so many questions here I wanted to ask you. Oh, personally, how do you communicate respectfully in the middle of an argument or a disagreement? Um, are you very calculated? Are you cautious about how you approach an argument, or do you just kind of explode usually?
I'd like to explode, to be honest, but I've got some problems with exploding. Really.
Really?
Uh, so I, so my usual manner of arguing is to be calm and to have some, um, um, I have forgotten a word in English.
That's okay.
Доказательства.
I'm sorry, say again.
Доказательства.
Proof.
Yes, proofs of the point of the yeah, point of the argument, right?
Sure.
But I would like to explode sometimes.
Right. I think that's pretty normal, like our
Please,
our yeah, our instinct is to react to something, right? But how we choose to react is really not simple. It's not always that easy. We don't.
it's not. It's very difficult for me to explode, but I like it.
Right.
Really.
Yeah, there are those times in life, right? Um, what about communicating in the office space? So I assume you work, right? You have coworkers. Is
Uh,
communication really good or bad, or tell me about that?
well, I used to work in the office, but I haven't visited an office for 5 years already.
Wow.
So, yeah. I left that place in pharmaceutical company. So I'm a yoga teacher actually, and my work is to communicate in the in the room with people whom I'm teaching.
Mm.
So they're not my colleagues, basically. They are my students. So there
Right,
is a difference between communication when I was in the office, and I used to be very, too calm, and I didn't explode. But now I guess I have to. But now, while teaching my students, I don't explode, but I can tell them when something is wrong, when they start communication in the wrong way with
right.
me or each other. So I have to
Maintain like a level of civility. You have to
and
be
yes,
professional.
maintain the situation during my classes.
Right,
That's
right.
a possibility.
It's hard, isn't it, to be a manager because you're human, but you have to really remember, right, that there are standards you are set to follow, in that role.
Sure, sure. Sometimes there are people in our studio, I can't stand them. It happens rarely, but when it happens, just I have to I have to calm down